Hello and welcome. This is one of those programs where my guest is so famous that I'm going to dispense with the usual introduction. I'll just tell you I'm interviewing Madhuri Dixit. That's fair.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's get started with status check now that I've said you're famous. Are you like part of the industry? Are you not part of the industry? Are you like half and half post-marriage?
No, I think I've always been a part of the industry.
Yeah.
The only difference will be that I will be doing fewer number of films because I
How
have
many?
to. Probably, I was actually doing just 4 films for the past few years. Probably half of that.
Just 2 films here?
Yeah.
And how much would you be traveling?
Well, a lot because I am going to divide my time between there and here. So probably half the time there and half the time here.
Half the time means what, 6 months?
I don't know. I can't
More
put it
or-
down to
more
months.
or less,
but
more or less.
Depends.
Yeah. Now, having started with the status check, let's take you back to the beginning.
Okay.
When did you decide you were going to join the industry?
I guess I didn't decide it. Fate decided it for me.
Explain that.
Because I have learned Kathak for many years, since I was 3 years old, and I was interested in dramatics and, through school and elocution, the usual stuff, stand and say your poem kind of a thing. But never really thought I'd work in film someday because I don't have a film background. There's no one I know who works in films. There's no one in my family who's ever worked remotely connected who worked in films. So film was far from my dreams. But it so happened that when I was in my 7th
7th standard?
Yes, 7th
Okay.
standard. I got an offer for a film in which I was supposed to be a Kathak dancer, and my mom said no, she's not doing
Fair
films.
enough. You were 7th standard.
Yeah, I was in the 7th. And so then again, when I was in the 10th, I got another offer for doing a film. So it
How
was
did
like
people like
things
spot
just
you?
worked.
Because you were from a non-filmy background.
It
Yet the
was
7th
because of
standard
my
is-
dancing, basically, because of Kathak.
Okay.
Somebody
People would see you
saw me
perform or
perform,
whatever.
and and in school, I was into the cultural scene. So,
Like what else apart from Kathak?
like I said,
Elocution?
elocution, singing, and whatever. Just
Okay.
name it, and I
But-
used to
but
be
you were a
there,
performer, my
whether
point
it's
is.
sports or anything.
But you were like a performer. That means you were not
Yeah.
a shy, retiring type. You were like,
No,
you liked
not
going out
really.
on stage and
Yeah, I used to love
Singing
the stage.
also, right?
Singing also, yeah.
okay. So then you got another offer in class 10.
Yeah, and even then, like my mom was like, no, she's not doing films.
Why?
Because we never thought of it.
Okay.
For us it was like, no, she has to study, she has to have an academic kind of a career, and she has to do something else other than films. What's films, It was like that. And so when I was in the 12th, again I got an offer. Now, the Rajshris was searching for a girl, a young girl. They wanted to make something like Balika Vadhu. So, they were basically searching for a new face. And so he approached us. And so we went to the office, we met them, and, they video tested me, and they made
What
me
did you
do a
have to do?
song. And I had to say a few dialogues, and they played a song in a small room like this, and
And
they
you
played a
lip
song,
synced.
and I had to lip sync and kind of.
And-
They
and
just
what-
said dance,
And you did?
and I did.
And it came easily or like,
Well, it came easily to me.
because you were a performer, right?
Yeah, but for some time I didn't hear from them.
How long? 3 months is one version I've
Yeah, 3 or 4 months I didn't hear from them, and suddenly I get a call from them saying that they want to meet you. But I used to have like probably shoulder length hair, and I said, Mom, they're not calling back, so I went and cut my hair short as yours. And suddenly I got this call, and I went to the office, and Rajbhav nearly fainted. He said, what have you done to your hair? I'm like, why, what happened? He says, you cut your hair? I said, yeah. And they said, oh my goodness, now we have to get some wigs and put some wigs on you and everything. I said, I didn't hear from you guys, so I thought, I'm not going to be there.
What was it like, making a movie?
It was great fun. I didn't know that making movies would be such great fun when I
Really?
signed. And by the end of the 10th day, I really loved what I was doing.
At what stage did Subhash Ghai spot you?
It was when I was shooting for Awara Baap. I was shooting Kashmir with Sonlal Kawarji, and Subhaji was location hunting there for Karma. So he had dropped in on the set to meet Sonal Kanwar, and I got introduced to him saying that this is a new girl and she's playing the second lead in my film. She dances very well and blah, 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 and all that. And so Subhaji said, there's a small song in my film. Would you do it? It's a small part. It's like won't affect your career because it's like a hero and heroine who are dancing, and Jackie and Sridevi are watching you dance, and then they imagine themselves in the same song. So I was like, dance, okay, I'll do it, you know. And then I went to Kashmir and I did that little bit, and Subhaji said that, you know, when we go back to Bombay, I want to speak with you because I think I see talent and all that, and so why don't you meet me when we go back? And that's what we did, and he said that, you know, you have to stop doing these small roles, and he was explaining to me how the films, you know, they work, and he said, you have to stop doing this, and I would like to sign you for my film. So, you know, I'll have to plan a whole relaunch and everything.
At this stage, your parents were happy now? They sort of accepted films as a fait accompli, or?
Yeah, in a way, because actually after Subhaji said this, the whole dilemma started.
Okay.
You know,
now you were
should we
really
do
in it,
films or should we, you know, not do films and continue with the studies and, you know, all that?
And your instinct was?
And my instinct was I wanted to do films.
And their instinct was?
Their instinct was they were scared.
Before we went for the break, you were in this dilemma. Your parents weren't sure whether they wanted you to go in for films full-time, be relaunched by Subhash Ghai. What persuaded them finally?
Well, it's very strange because my mom comes from a very, very orthodox background, and there's one of her brothers who has never watched films in his life.
Ever?
Only after I joined films he started watching films. Ever.
But that's very orthodox, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And so we called him up, and my mom asked him that, you know, what should we do? We just don't know what to do. And he said a very strange thing. It was strange because, you know, coming from him, it was very strange. He said that, well, if she's talented, she'll make it. And he said, I think she is talented. So that kind of gave us the strength, and my family the strength to say that, okay, you know, let's do it. Because they were very concerned. What if, you know, things don't work out? I would be like neither here nor there, you know, and they didn't want that to happen. But since he said that, we decided to take the plunge.
So you went back to Subhash.
Yes, and I said, okay, I'm ready to do this.
And he signed you for Ram Lakhan?
He signed me for Ram Lakhan and Uttar Dakshin.
And what stage did Tezab happen? Because that's the one we all remember you from.
Tezab happened before Ram Lakhan. It happened and after Uttar Dakshin.
When you were shooting Tezab, I mean, the highlight of Tezab for most people is Ek Do Teen. Did you realize when you were shooting it, it was going to have this stupendous impact?
Well, in fact, when I heard the song for the first time, I was like,
it's very folky sort of tune.
what kind of a song is this? Ek Do Teen, you know, Ginti. We do that in Kathak dancing. We do gintis and tatkars and all that. But this was like, And we rehearsed for that song because Saroji was like, you know, this has to be a very good song, and it has to show you as a performer, and this and that. We have to rehearse for this song. And once we started shooting for it, you know, I really started enjoying it. And somewhere during the shooting, I felt, oh, this is good. You know, the dance number is good, and the dance steps are very good. But I didn't know it would be such a big hit.
In fact, Tezab made you a bigger star much before Ram Lakhan was released, right? Yeah. By the time Ram Lakhan was released, you were already a star in Ram Lakhan. So you'd finally made it after the sort of false start of a both. How did that feel?
Oh, it felt great. It felt great. Because not only because the film didn't do well or people would not recognize me or anything of that sort. I think my main concern was somewhere my parents had, you know, stood by me, taken the risk, and for me, like, I had to make it work. You know, I didn't want people to say, you know, that look at what happened, you know, her parents messed up her life. Why did they let her go into films? You know, that would be the talk.
So the important thing for you was not the fame, not the money. It was just that my parents gambled on this. I mustn't let them down.
I must make it work. It was like,
really?
I have to prove this, you know.
Well, a lot of things go with stardom, the loss of privacy, the fact that people recognize you on the streets, etc. How did that happen? I mean, how did you take to all of that? Did it happen gradually? Did it happen at once?
Well, after Tezab, I was not here when Tezab released. I was abroad. I was abroad, and I was my sister was getting married there, so I was attending her wedding, and I got a call from Riku saying that
Riku being your secretary,
my secretary, and he said Tezab is a hit ho gayi, you know, how they talk here. So hit ho gayi. So I said, oh, good, hit ho gayi. It's worked, good. But I didn't know the impact of the whole thing because I was not here to experience it. So when I came back from abroad, I was at the airport, and I was, you know, searching for my bags and everything like an ordinary person, you know, standing there, and I got my trolley and everything. We came out of the airport, and suddenly these two street kids, you know, who come and wipe your glass and everything, they were standing there and said, hey, look, that's Mohini, you know.
Which was the name of the character.
Yeah, which was the name of the character. And they said, ek do teen. So I turned and I looked at him. And for the first time, I thought, gosh, I'm recognized.
That was the very first time.
Yeah, that was the very first time. And that guy came running to me and he said, autograph, aapko autograph chahiye. So I signed and I signed Madhuri Dixit on the autograph. And he looked at the guy and he said, see, I told you, M. Mohini, see? So, you know, that was the first time when I really felt the joy of being recognized.
Of being a star, in a sense. Did you realize then that you were going to be the #1 star? Was this an actual ambition or it's something that happened?
To tell you the truth, I really don't believe in this number game. I never have and I never will.
How can you say
like, you can't tag people with numbers and say, we're not horses or, you know, in a race, going towards the same finishing line.
Human beings are also tagged, no, apart from horses.
They keep
you never believed you were #1 or you didn't believe anyone was #1?
I didn't believe in the number game as such.
But you've never believed that you were #1? You never believed that your films were doing better than anybody else's? That there were more producers outside your door? Come on, honestly.
Honestly, I mean, I never gave it a thought at all.
Never.
For me, it was like,
when people said like that Sridevi is no longer #1, Madhuri is #1, or they said in later days, you know, Madhuri's had some flops, she's no longer #1. All of that meant nothing to you.
No, it didn't. Really, it didn't. I know
Really?
it must be hard to believe,
All right.
but it didn't.